Good evening, everyone. We'll get started in 1 second. Thanks for being here. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Chapter Leader Academy. My name is Eric Gage, and I'm the Director of Programs here at Student Veterans of America. Over the course of tonight's Chapter Leader Academy, or CLA for short, please tell the world about what you're learning here using the hashtag SVA Leads. I'm very excited for tonight's third installment of the Chapter Leader Academy. If you missed CLA 1 and 2, don't worry. Recordings of both CLAs can be found on the SVA website under the Programs tab. In CLA 1, we covered building your chapter to include building your chapter's plan, long-term sustainability, and basic chapter marketing. CLA 2, the theme was Welcome Back to Campus, and we covered chapter leader framework, as well as how to get to NatCon 2018, partnerships and basics of chapter fundraising. This year, SVA has a lot planned for its 10th year. We will continue the Chapter Leader Academy covering many topics important to you as chapter leaders. We just opened our spring scholarship cycle, which I know money for school is important to all of us in higher education. We're providing our Raytheon Patriot Scholarship, as well as our NBC and our Universal SVA Scholarship. We're also partnering with Google to offer an IT certificate. This program will help those that complete it lucrative job opportunities in the IT sector. And we're excited to continue to offer the popular chapter grant program to help you fund sustainability programs in your chapter. So, in case you were studying abroad or living under a rock over winter break, this January was NatCon 2018, happened on the 4th through 6th of January. The theme of NatCon 2018 was defining our future, and a lot happened. It was an amazing event with more students, professors, higher eds, and supporters than ever before. This brings us to tonight's CLA theme, how to bring NatCon to your campus as a chapter leader. We have some amazing speakers lined up to teach you all about how to bring what you learned at NatCon back to your campus, and how, even if you weren't able to attend NatCon yourself, you can bring the exciting things from NatCon back to your campus. So on that note, please hold on a second while we switch speakers, and Mark will give you a quick recap of what happened at NatCon 2018.
Evening, everyone. As Mr. Eric Gage just said, my name is Mark McKenna, and I am the Director of Chapter Support here at Student Veterans of America National Headquarters. You might have seen me in CLA lessons 1 and 2. Back for number 3 after an amazing national conference, our 10th national conference earlier this month. And as Eric said, I'm here to give you a recap of some of those the highlights of that event right now. So I've introduced myself a few times already, so I won't bore you guys with my life story. But I served in the Army as an infantryman. I was stationed out in Fort Lewis, Washington, deployed to Afghanistan in 2009. There's a picture of me there. Got out of the Army in late 2010 and decided I was going to use this amazing benefit called the post 9/11 GI Bill to go to school. And I went to the University of Arizona, where I studied Middle Eastern Studies And I eventually became the vice president of my SVA chapter. There's a picture of me right there in the green shirt doing the amazing Pat Tillman run up in Arizona, up at Arizona State University, our rivals. And to the right there, you can see my good friend Calvin Jensen, who was my chapter president at the time, who actually works here at SVA National Headquarters as well as our LinkedIn guy. And then there's a picture of me and Calvin you might have seen before below, wearing our LinkedIn themed Christmas sweaters here at SVA National Headquarters. So as you can see, we're both chapter leaders in the past, and that road led us straight here to SVA National Headquarters, where we both work to hopefully share some best practices with you guys and help you build those thriving communities of student veterans across the country. So let's get into the national conference recap. It happened January 4th through the 6th, earlier this month in San Antonio, Texas. There were 2,000 attendees, and while we always boast that it's the world's largest gathering of student veterans, we are almost certain that it is also the world's largest gathering of post 9/11 veterans, which is something that we're very proud of. So as far as we know, that's an absolutely true statement. And there's no post 9/11 type event that rivals that number. So if you do know of a bigger one, let us know. So that's just some highlights from on the macro level here. Let's talk about some of the stuff that happened there. So if you've ever been at a conference before, one of the main things that they do is called breakout sessions, which is basically simultaneously in different rooms around the conference, folks get together and talk about a specific topic. This year, we had the most breakout sessions we've ever had. It was around 90 some odd breakout sessions, wide variety of topics covered, 6 different tracks in terms of the different topics that we covered. There was something for student veterans who are chapter leaders. There was something for administrators who support student veterans. And there were also professional type breakout sessions for folks who are going to be looking for a career pretty soon. So who leads those breakout sessions? Well, the answer is anyone. We have a call for proposal process, the CFP process, as you can see there at the bottom of the screen, that talks about, that's basically how we narrow down who's going to speak at the conference in these breakouts. They propose to us a topic, and they talk about their expertise in it and why they think it's valuable to the community. So we received a lot of submissions for this past year's NatCon, and even with that many breakout sessions, we still had to say no to a lot of really, really good content. And I suspect every year we get more and more admissions, so next year will be no different. That doesn't mean that you guys out there, if you have something you think is beneficial to our community, that you shouldn't apply yourself. So if you've got a topic that you think it would be relevant, please pay attention to your inboxes in the next couple months. That CFP process will open. I don't have an exact date just yet, but pay attention to that, and you guys should definitely submit if you think that's something you're interested in. So next, the general sessions. The general sessions are the big stage. That's for the most folks from a couple hundred folks that will come in and do something like look at Jared Lyon's State of the SVA speech that he did right at the beginning to kick it off, highlighting some of those accomplishments that we've achieved over the past year here at SVA HQ, some of the accomplishments of our chapters, and then also the theme of the conference was defining our future, so talking about where we're going to go from here. Some other general sessions that we covered were from Boots to Boardroom, Breaking the Glass Ceiling. There's a picture from that session right here, and that had to do with a bunch of amazing women that work at a lot of our partner organizations, and them talking about how they got to the place that they were, and us basically wanting to create some content that honored and empowered the amazing contributions of the women student veterans that we have at many of our chapters and many in leadership positions. And one of the other general sessions we also covered was some expert advice from LinkedIn. So Dan Savage, the Director of Veterans Programs at LinkedIn, did a general session where he talked about how LinkedIn is a tool that you're going to want to start utilizing right now as a student veteran. It's not something you're going to want to wait until you are, graduating and looking for work. Start cultivating that network right now, and Calvin will talk more about that in a bit, so I won't get into too many details about that. So next, we'll talk about Sva Honors. Those are the awards that we give out at every conference honoring the achievements and accomplishments of some of our amazing chapters, chapter advisors, and student veterans themselves, chapter leaders. So first we have the SVA National Business Plan Competition. You're going to be hearing from them in just a little bit. That's University of Arkansas Fort Smith. They were the runner-up in last year's business plan competition and decided that they were going to take the gold this year, and they absolutely did. And they're going to tell you about how they did that and why it's important for chapters to have a business plan and strategic plan as well later on. You'll hear directly from them. Our chapter of the year was Western Oregon University, amazing chapter that basically rose from the ashes of almost completely inactive status 2 years ago. Here's a picture of them accepting their award right there. And they ended up building this amazing program that has a whole bunch of very active membership, who is very active in community service and making sure that those folks have that thriving community that they can rely upon. Next, we've got our Student Veteran of the Year, Chris Rolfe, from the Queen's University of Charlotte. He built a veteran center from the ground up on its campus where there was basically no resources for veterans, very small university, but was able to get a veteran center built there before the end of his term. Amazing accomplishment unto itself. And then our chapter advisor of the year, Rosalind Johnson from University of Washington, Tacoma, who was really focused on ensuring that there was a high-touch model to connect with student veterans on our campus, meaning it's very important. As many of you know as chapter leaders, one of the most important things you can do every day is ensure that you're engaging with student veterans in that veteran center or in your classes and telling them that there is a community for them on your campus, because that's the #1 factor on deciding whether or not they're going to be successful in higher education. So next, last but not least, let's talk about next year's NatCon. NatCon 2019, it'll be our 11th annual national conference. Please save the date that is going to be happening. We're going back to Disney World, and as you can see, Jared is very happy about our announcement about that in this picture right here. That will be in Orlando, Florida, January 3rd through the 6th, 2019. So if you didn't get to go to this year's conference and it sounded interesting to you based upon some of that stuff we just talked about, some of that stuff you saw online, some amazing content on our website. If you want to dive a little deeper into that, you go to conference.studentveterans.org. I encourage you guys to check all of that out. But if you did get to go and had a great time, we hope you did. If you didn't get to go, then maybe consider coming this next year. So that'll happen in Orlando, Florida, January 3rd to the 6th. Please save that date. And with that, I am going to be, oops, 1 second, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to be turning it over to my colleague, Taylor Davis, who will be telling you about SVA research. So thank you so much for your time, and please stay on the line here for Ms. Davis, Jensen, and then University of Arkansas Fort Smith.
Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Davis and I work in the research department here at SVA HQ. I'm behind the scenes a lot, so maybe not all of you know me, but I graduated from Miami University with a major in psychology and minor in applied statistics. And my major focus of my undergrad research was veteran resiliency to trauma. So that's where I really got involved in the veteran sphere. And then I came on to SVA HQ 3 years ago in 2015 to the research department, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about now. So SVA's research department is a 2-person team, and our function is to inform the public, the policymakers, and our stakeholders of student, veteran, and military-connected students about what topics are interested in you guys, and we do that both through internal and external empirical research. So our external research, some of you may have heard of. Our first major publication was the Million Records Project in 2014, and then the National Veteran Education Success Tracker published this past summer, which both covered post-secondary outcomes for student veterans. Our newest initiative is the Student Veteran Educational Lifecycle Atlas, and this will cover key decision points made by veterans and military-connected students through various educational and employment outcomes. The end goal of this project is to create an interactive visualization instrument to explore and evaluate different outcomes based on previous student veterans' decisions, so that veterans like you can explore these outcomes to inform their current decision-making processes. Initial findings of these studies were announced at NatCon, and please look out for an invitation from us to participate. So the other form of research we do is internal research. So these projects, such as the SVA census, which started in 2015, and the 2017 analytics are underway. That helps us give a yearly update of all the demographics to inform our stakeholders and, again, the general public. Our second initiative is the Chapter Status Instrument, which is aimed at tracking individual chapter progress across 4 categories: structure, network, value, and community, on 2 different fields. So externally, throughout your campus, and both internally with your chapter members. Also, our program evaluations are always going on. So like you attend the CLA, you will receive an evaluation request tomorrow morning. Please fill that out, because those help us to understand what things you want to see more of and what we can improve upon. Same thing with the post-NatCon survey if you did attend NatCon. So please make sure that you fill those out and fill them out honestly, because they help us listen to your voice. So that's the end of my short segment, and I'm going to pass it on to our chapter ambassador, Miss Bethany. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Bethany Kibler. I am a fellow here at SVA. I'm also a student veteran. I was in the Army for 6 years, and then ended up going and doing a master's and PhD at Harvard University, which I'm finishing now, in Middle Eastern Studies, like Mark, and also social anthropology. The other thing that I've been really involved in for the past 5 years is working as a student organization mentor and development liaison at Harvard College. So I've gotten kind of really in the weeds with organizations that were either just starting up or rebooting, or sometimes organizations that have a really long and storied history but have to rethink their vision. So that's what I've been doing, and coming to SVA has been awesome because I've been able to kind of build on all of my different passions, which is higher education, veterans, and organizations. So thank you so much to SVA and to all of you for kind of giving me the best job ever. So before I get into the topic, I just kind of want to take a moment and share, maybe gush is the better word, gush about how much I loved NatCon and how exciting it's been for me to be at SVA. And this isn't a sales pitch, it's like truly authentic. And I think it speaks a lot to what the NatCon experience is, which is that coming to SVA HQ, I have realized that we're part of something so much bigger. This is, you as student leaders and us here at HQ and all of our allies and partners are literally writing history. We're shaping what it means to be a veteran for the next generation. We're not the greatest generation. We're not the Vietnam era. Most of us are probably not Gulf vets. We're post 9/11 vets, and we are different. And right now, us here, the whole community, we are every day with what we do, with the impact that we're making, we're deciding what that's going to mean, and what that's going to mean not just at your campuses, but actually at a national level. So this is what I realized when I came to SVA. Was just that, like, this is so much bigger than I thought, and it's just such a privilege to be invited to be part of that national conversation. And I hope that you also realize that you have a seat at that table by being a member, a leader in your SVAs, by participating. Like, this conversation is yours to have, and I find it really exciting. And nowhere have I felt that more than at NatCon. So I started my fellowship in October. This was my first NatCon, and that's where you get the big picture. We're all laboring away in our small spheres, at our college campuses, trying to get our organizations started. In this case, working at my cubicle. But you get to NatCon and you see SVA chapters and student veterans from all over the country. I had amazing moments every day. I would go to panels and get to listen to actual thought leaders, national level researchers, really important people saying how important student veterans are to them. And then I would go, just as importantly, to another panel and hear from the second year student veteran who came to his college and looked for a community, didn't find one, or maybe found a defunct community, a defunct SVA chapter in some cases, and said, what, I'm going to step up. I'm going to make this something awesome. And they did. And now here they are in a panel talking to hundreds of people about their best practices. That is amazing. And that happened, I had this tooth experience happen just like every day, all day. But the other thing that I thought was great, and part of the excitement that I bring away from NatCon, was the conversations in the hallway, on the couches, in the super long line at Starbucks, of all student veterans, one maybe group of folks from one part of the country talking to a group from another part of the country, and they're realizing that they have shared obstacles. Maybe they faced some of the same problems. One group has solved some of those problems, and the other has been like tearing their hair out trying to get past it. They have ideas, they have shared interests, they have sort of common shared vision, or really different ones that they find interesting when they're talking. And that dynamism, that hallway conversation was so much a part of what NatCon was, and also what we hope you're able to take back. So for me, that was what, at NatCon, and just even being part of SVA, like, this is what veteran leadership looks like. And you're doing it every single day. So thank you for everything that you're doing, and for all the excitement that you get to bring me and to everybody else who got to be part of that special occasion. But now, of course, we transition. You're back at school. Maybe some of you are registering for classes. Some of you may actually already be in classes. Some of you might be kind of doing homework right now while you're watching this webinar. Maybe some of you are back taking your kids to school. You're taking shifts back at work. Life has started back up again, and that's great. But it also means that there's some challenges, right? You had this excitement, you had this enthusiasm, you got all of that knowledge, and Now, if you're signed up for this webinar, you're asking yourself, how do I take that, bring it back, share it, and incorporate it into everything that I'm doing? How do I, really make sure that the NatCon experience that I had is something that sort of galvanizes action on my campus? And just to kind of highlight two aspects of that, I'm kind of cheerleading here because I do think that the excitement and the energy is part of what you're trying to bring back. You had an amazing experience. You realize that you're part of something bigger, that this big deal conversation that's happening, this huge network of student veterans who are moving and shaking and changing things. You're part of it. So part of bringing NatCon home is, how do you convey that enthusiasm? How do you keep it going for yourself and your team and share it with folks who didn't get to go? And then there's a more concrete aspect. You probably learned a lot. You probably took notes, maybe on scraps of paper, maybe on your phone. You got good ideas, best practices. You probably got some cards. You have a lot of ideas, concrete and even sort of maybe ambitious plans. So how do you bring that back and incorporate it? How do you make sure that those great ideas, best practices, lessons learned come back and are meaningfully impactful in your planning going forward? So that's the question, that's the topic, that's the webinar for today. There's a lot of ways that we can talk about this. First of all, I wanted to thank all of you for taking time and being really, really thoughtful on your registration form. You gave great ideas, things that had been meaningful for you at NatCon, ideas about how you and your chapter were going to bring some of those ideas back. So I took a look at that, and a lot of what I'm going to say now is drawn from your feedback. But it's also going to be drawn from the conversations that we at SVA have been having ever since we got back from NatCon, because we got really jazzed too, right? You go there and you're like, this is awesome. Let's make this happen. And, how do we keep that energy going too? So it's, we've been talking to a lot of chapters. We've had a lot of chapter consults. We have, read the survey data that you gave us, and all of that is going into what I'm going to present now. So having said that, what I want to do is to organize this into three sort of themes or categories. Now, there are a lot of different ways you can do this, so don't take them too seriously. But, well, no, take them seriously, but there are other ways to organize your thoughts. So take a second, listen, write it down. But what I think is a good way to organize this question of how you're going to bring NatCon back is, 1, get to work. And I'll tell you what that means. 2, build relationships. And 3, start planning now on day 1 for the day that you're going to hand over the student organization. Because that it is really hard to start something back up. And you also know that at a college campus, you're students. And if you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, you will hand this organization off sooner rather than later. So I will start with the very first one. Let's see, what do I have here? Before I launch into it, though, I realized that I didn't give you my shining pictures of who I am. So in case you are curious who you're dealing with, a shot from Baghdad 2007, my epic Harvard graduation shot, and some of the team here at SVA. So that gives you a little bit more background. And then here's an overview slide. Again, I'm going to cover this right now, so it's here just to keep you organized and help you sort of organize your thoughts as I'm going through. But the very, very first thing is get to work. Now, how is this going to help? You've just come back from this amazing experience, but like we already said, the semester starts quickly once it gets started, and it's really easy to lose that momentum, to lose even those ideas if you don't sit down as soon as possible and start to synthesize, start to incorporate and plan. So capitalize at the beginning of the semester when you're fresh, when the student veterans on your campus are fresh, when these ideas are still sort of percolating in your mind. Make sure that you take that time now so that the rest of the semester will unfold the way that you want it to. So if you haven't had a meeting with your team, your exec board, get on that. Have a meeting. If you have other you and other members who went, maybe it's just you, maybe your whole team got to go, sit down and talk about what you learned at NatCon, because whether that's just, you and one other person, or even it's just you and you're writing it down, get that out. Don't forget these things. Write it down, type it up, save it in Google Docs or Google Drive, and then have that meeting. And in that meeting, make sure that you have the conversation with your team about what this meant to you, what you think you can do with it. Share what NatCon was, share those ideas as broadly as you can, because the more people who know what this sort of bigger picture is, the more enthusiasm there will be, but also you'll get other people's input on these ideas. So sit down and have that meeting. Some of the things that I know that chapters have already done, it all depends on your structure, but some chapters have kind of a town hall meeting structure in place where they have an open forum and student veterans come in, there's a short topic and refreshments. And so some student veterans have already set something aside where they're going to talk about NatCon to their student veteran community, the more broad one. Others have just had sort of executive board meetings where they've sat down and hashed out what they thought the big takeaways were. And remember, this is an ongoing process, and the process is important. The conversation that you have with your leadership team, the conversations you start with the student veterans. Mark was talking just a minute ago about the importance of those sort of in-between events, casual, reach-out conversations that you have. NatCon is a great subject of conversation that you can carry forward, and that helps build the enthusiasm. It helps keep you enthusiastic, and it gets those ideas rolling. I've already said this, but I'm going to emphasize it. Write it down. This stuff goes away. Homework assignments, other kinds of commitments come in, and all of the ideas that you knew for sure you'd remember, and all of the great best practices are going to start slipping away if you don't log it now. It also starts building a document, and we're going to come back to the importance of that towards the end. So have that conversation, write it down. If you went with a group, you may have had different experiences. Maybe you went to different panels, talk about it. There's meaning in just the conversation, but getting that started. So that's the first part. The other is this is a great opportunity to revisit your business plan or any other founding documents that you have. You've gone and gotten a huge sort of new perspective on what it means to be an SVA chapter, what it means to impact your college community and your veteran community from like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. So now you've got a new perspective. Come back and rethink, revisit the question, are we the organization that we want to be? And what kind of organization can we be? What's our mission? Is the mission that you have in your founding documents and the goals that you have in your business plan, do they still fit your vision? Does it need to be tweaked in any way? This is, I think, a really important process of bringing NatCon home is literally sitting down and saying, okay, who are we now? Now that we've learned all of this, now that we understand what we're a part of, who do we want to be? What can we be? And do these founding documents, does this plan, does our strategic plan still fit? Or do we need to change it? And I want to emphasize here that this, and I'm going to say this so many times, but this is a conversation. I think sometimes, certainly in any student organization I've been a part of, these kinds of tasks, whether it's a constitution or bylaws or business plan, can start to feel like it's just a task that needs to get done. And once you have it, check the box and you are good to go. And I would really encourage you to reframe the way you think about it. The business plan or any other sort of founding strategic documents that you use are supposed to be living. They should be a continual subject of reflection and conversation so that they do the good work for you that they're supposed to. This is a conversation. It is not homework. It's not something that you're supposed to do and forget about. And coming back from NatCon, fresh with ideas, fresh with enthusiasm, is a perfect time to revisit it and make sure that it is useful for you and it reflects who you are. The last bit that I would say now, and I will have a caution about this, is to get some things on the books, get some events, some maybe low stakes, easy to organize, ideas on your calendar. Now, different organizations will plan things differently. Some of you do your elections in the spring, some of you do them in the fall, so that's going to shape how much you can get done and when. But you have the ideas now. Take a look, be realistic, and get some dates hashed out. These may change, but it's going to give you an opportunity, you, your leadership team, your advisors, to think about what this semester can look like, to see where and how concretely, you can fit the ideas that you've taken from NatCon into your own lives. Every chapter is different. You have different leadership board structures. You have different other commitments, different campus cultures. So this is an opportunity for you to say, okay, well, what I'd like to do is to have an SVA sponsored shuttle to the moon. Let's really throw our energy at that. Cool idea, super neat if you can pull it off, like A+ chapter of the year. Don't quote me on that. I think it's a competition, but that would be amazing. But most people can't do it. You can't pull it off. So you've got all these great ideas and enthusiasm, but this time when you actually start looking at the calendar and you start putting some things in place, you're going to realize what you actually can do, what you've got the bandwidth for, what fits in with the semester or the quarter schedule, whatever you have at your school, what your officers can actually accomplish, what they're willing to commit time-wise. And that's a good check for your enthusiasm. But it also brings that enthusiasm down into a way that's going to make sure that it endures, and that you have a couple of events, you have a couple of maybe ballpark dates, and then you can start planning for them. They're not going to sneak up on you. Doing something like that, having a calendar plan or having, planning out can help, across the board. It can keep you from, falling into the rocket ship to the moon by SVA bucket. It can also make sure that you're spreading your energies out, and it can give you a real clear vision. And of course, that's going to come out of your business plan as well and your founding documents, but really hashing that out sooner rather than later, letting your advisor know, starting to get to all of the logistics in the works is the really concrete way to bring NatCon home, right? You've got the enthusiasm, you've got the excitement, you've got the ideas, put some things down. And again, the beginning of the semester is a perfect time to do it because it gets crazy quick, as you know. So take advantage of this time. So that's sort of the first one, get to work. And, I don't mean it in anything other than the most encouraging possible way, but get to it. The second is build relationships. So I was going to call this get a communication plan, but it's actually a lot bigger than that. So I will talk about communications plans, but to get back to sort of my experience at NatCon, and I think probably a lot of y'all's experience at NatCon, that you're walking the hallways and you are learning from so many other people. You're getting their excitement. You're seeing the network. You're seeing all of these folks who are trying to do similar things to you in different ways, and you can learn from them. Those are your allies. Those are your team. Those are the folks who are going to help you out. Keep that going in concrete terms. Building relationships doesn't just mean communications. It doesn't just mean sort of networking. It means all of that and more. So a couple of ways to think about this are, obviously you want to sort of make sure that you're building relationships with your leadership team. Now, that's easier and harder depending on the dynamic that you currently have, but making sure that you have regular communications. It's not just show up for meetings and leave. That these are people that you have meaningful conversations with, that everyone has some buy-in. And if you don't have that, then try to build that with personal sort of outreach. But you also want to build, with maybe other SVAs, and certainly the SVA National Headquarters. We all have so much that we can offer each other, and you got a taste of that at NatCon, but now you can continue it. And this, I'll talk about some of the resources for this, but this is something that some SVA chapters do really, really well. I know certain states have networks and they put on their own sort of mini like StateCon, and it's an amazing opportunity for them to share lessons learned, to collaborate and work together. You can do that too, even if it's at a smaller level of following another SVA chapter on Facebook or reaching out to them on LinkedIn. There are a lot of ways to start building that network, because again, at NatCon, how many times did I hear one of you or another group of student veterans saying like, oh my gosh, like we thought that we didn't have any attendance, but now we know that actually the 150 people who come to each of our meetings is pretty good. That perspective is only gained by having those conversations. Or, just as often I heard an SVA chapter saying like, oh, that's a great idea. That's going to solve our problem. We hadn't even thought about that, and sort of furiously jotting it down. Again, there's a lot of folks out there trying to work on a similar structure that you are with similar ends. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Those ideas are out there, but keeping those relationships going is what's going to keep you having access to them. So that's sort of the SVA piece. Make sure that your leadership team, that you have good communications, you're building relationships there, you're reaching out to other SVAs or reaching out to the national headquarters and participating. Like what we post, well, like what you post, and it goes back and forth and you're part of the bigger conversation. But you also want to reach out to allies in the community. And what I mean by allies in the community is everything from faculty members and administrators and other student leaders at your college campuses to VSOs in your area, so the larger veteran community outside of the college campus. There are, you are students and you're veterans, and you're trying to do something that a lot of other student organizations are also trying to do. You're going to have similar challenges to them, except you share the campus culture and the specific challenges and opportunities that comes with it. So, a lot of times, there's a lot of need for a veteran-specific community, and we pour a lot of energy into that. It's crucial, but you have potential allies and folks you can learn from in these other organizations. And I'll double down on the faculty and administrators. This is going to come up in the last bullet point as well, but faculty and administrators stick around. Like I said, if you're doing what you're doing, if you're doing it right, you're going to graduate. And any student organization, no matter what, is going to have ups and downs. It's just the nature of being run by students, and that's fine and it's normal. But finding ways that you can build continuity is really crucial. And those relationships with faculty and administrators can be really helpful there. They also can be outreach for you. I would ask you to consider, do your faculty members know that you're a veteran? Do they know that you are involved in a student veteran chapter? Would they send a veteran that they met maybe in a class to you? Do they know that they can do that? Are faculty and administrators helping to identify veterans who might be interested? Again, depends on the campus culture, but this can be a really good resource, and it's also part of you expanding the footprint and your impact on your campus. So building relationships. Now I want to kind of break it into two parts. So I said I was almost going to call this communications plan, and it's a little bit bigger, but I do want to talk about that. So there's so many resources for how you can do this, and I've already mentioned a few, but Facebook, for some of you like me who had to get spun up on social media when I went back to school, this is a great opportunity. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, which I'm still working on, taking and sharing pictures, posting and get an invite on the student veterans leadership forum that we run, the headquarters runs on Facebook. Those are some places that you can start making those connections. And getting better at working those spaces is value added for you too as you go forward. Emails, even some of you who have veteran centers that are really well accessed, like old school hard copy posters can do amazing things. But think about how you as an organization want to expend your energy. Those are the resources you have, and probably some that I haven't thought about. Sit down, think about what your strategy is going to be specifically in relationship to communications, because you can get a lot of great work done there. And then you have the grassroots piece. So if you're at a college campus, you know that the most amazing event can still have nobody show up. It's not just about content. Great content is awesome. Get Petraeus to come have like a coffee chat. People will probably show up, but more people will show up if they know who you are, if they've met you, if they can put a face to the name, if they know that student veterans, whatever your chapter name is, does X, Y, Z, they've seen the pictures, they have a sense of who you are. So it's that grassroots, meeting people, taking the time to like hang out and just have a conversation that's not, oh, we have this event, come to this event. Making sure that you're, as leaders, you're taking that time. The best events and the most strong programs are those where the ideas feel like they are emerge from the students. They're student-centric. So does your constituency, do your veterans feel like if they had ideas, they could come to you? Have you ever told them what you think you're planning and asked them what they think? This isn't just about meetings and events. It's about all the work in between. And that is where you really build your community, is in those conversations, the transparency of all the communications that you have, taking the personal time to reach out to people. And that is going to build the interest. That's going to build the community that will be there when you want to do something. Because people show up to events run by people they know. They want to show up to events where they feel like they're going to be known. And that's a big part. You know, obviously great events will attract students too, but you're trying to do more than just have events. You're trying to build something. So that grassroots work, I know I'm beating the horse dead at this point, but grassroots work in addition to a good communication plan. And the last thing I'll say about building relationships here, kind of going back to the communications plan specific, is just to make sure that you're aware of how you are representing your organization, especially in forums like Facebook and LinkedIn and virtual spaces. It's really easy to get lax about the language that you're using. And I don't want to harp on this too much, but tone matters, language matters. You were at NatCon, right? It was an incredibly diverse group. Are you framing your organization and your events in a way that's going to feel inclusive to that whatever group of veterans that you have? You know, maybe your entire leadership team is in the Navy and you use funny phrases that I don't understand, and they're fun to you and they mean something to you, but if all of your emails are in like Navy speak, that could alienate folks or make them feel like they aren't welcome. You know, you've got a lot of branches, you have all different kinds of people at your campus, and that's something just to think about. And to remember that everything you write and everything you send out is an opportunity for brand management. I sometimes think we use brand too much and too loosely, but this is an opportunity for you to figure out how do you want to face outwards and to make really conscious choices about that with your language, with your logos, with the format. And remember that administrators read these, faculty read these, student veterans of very diverse backgrounds and interests read them. And you're trying to build that community that is going to bring all of them in. So something to think about when you are, whether it's your personal outreach and sort of the way that you address that, or it's your more sort of virtual email, Facebook outreach. A key aspect that I know I heard a lot of folks talking about at NatCon, and I wanted to make sure I double down on. So the last one, and this will be the shortest one because I think it builds on the last two, is start now, like right now, for the handover. Even if you are like literally signed on yesterday as the president of your chapter and you are a freshman, let's say, this is the most extreme case, start thinking now about what you're going to say and what you're going to hand over to the student leaders who come take your place. Because I can't tell you how many times I spoke with someone at NatCon who had picked up an SVA that had waned. Or more often, actually, the SVA they picked up was doing well, but the student leaders graduated and they had to start basically from scratch. Or the student leaders graduated and they stepped in, the new leaders, and realized that they had a very different vision. These things are really common, but you can preempt them, you can smooth that, and you can build in that continuity that's so hard to achieve in student organizations. You can get close to it by planning now. So one of the things that I've said a couple of times now, but is to write it down. You know, whether you use Google Docs or whatever sort of software you use, building an archive that is going to helpfully express what you've done, why you've done it, your best practices, and is accessible. So what I mean by that is it would not be very helpful for most organizations to have one binder of loose leaf paper that has a lot of notes. Like that might be really great for a while, it's going to get lost. You know, this is a very straightforward thing, but sometimes it can get lost in the shuffle. Build something that will last. So too, if you are, you've got your great Google Docs going, you've got a chapter email address, you've made sure your advisor has the password for that email address, so if you all graduate, someone can get to it. You've done all of those things right, but you're just dumping, unedited minutes from all of your meetings into it. It's not very helpful. So start thinking now what you wish you'd gotten when you came on board. What would have been helpful? And some of those things will certainly, any really good advertising that you've done, save it if you thought it was really effective. Obviously your mission statements, your agendas for your meetings, sometimes summaries of meetings or a particular email language is useful to save and hand over, but also best practices and event planning cycles. It is not that easy if you've never done it to bring in a speaker and advertise, figuring out the timing of that, figuring out who on campus you need to go talk to get the funding, or what is a great student organization to partner with and why. You all know that, or you will know that. You're going to learn it. So keep a record of it. Refer to it from time to time and make sure that you're building something, you're saving something that really reflects all that you've learned, the wisdom, the mistakes that you made, because we all will make mistakes in these positions, that maybe the next generation can avoid. This can also be timelines, it can be lists of resources. You know, it's going to depend on what you want, but I think that's really important, and that's something that a lot of you mentioned too, was that, you know, you just wish that you'd had more information when you came on. Even thriving chapters wish that. And you got a chance at NatCon to hear all of these, to kind of get this big handover, in that you got all these other best practices and ideas from hundreds of other student veterans. But now you are building that, and you are the one who's going to help the next generation not reinvent the wheel. So get it down, plan out how you want to do it. It also helps you as you're going through the semester and beyond to kind of check yourself and keep yourselves organized, and to make sure that you are planning things out. Because when you see it represented in that way, you're able to see it and analyze it a little bit more clearly. So I know that that's hard, and it's very hard to find the time to do during the semester, so I recognize that. But that means have a conversation now about how you want to do it, about who's going to be in charge of it, when it's going to get done, because it's easy to let it go by the wayside, because it doesn't, you know, having an archive for the next group doesn't seem that important when you're freaked out about the, you know, funding that you're trying to get for the big speaker you've already promised a room to. So I get it, but that's why you need to start thinking about it now. That goes back under the get to work. So I know that I have now rambled at you. This was my job, but I do want to kind of recap a few things. And like I said at the beginning, there's the categories of get to work now and capitalize on the beginning of the semester, build relationships, everything from, you know, reaching out through your comms to the grassroots, personalized relationship building that you hopefully are doing, and then also the archive. And those were the three categories, but you could also just think about it in terms of write it down and communicate. Write it down, communicate. Those two things are crucial, and you have so much wealth of knowledge that you've gathered from NatCon, and so many sort of great networks and outreach points. Start using them, make the communications work for you, and write it down and pass it on to the next generation. So in closing, thank you for taking some time to hear from me and for all that you're doing, signing up to sit. I don't know what time of day it is where you are, but, you know, sit for a little while and actually do this webinar. It means a lot. I hope that this was clear. I hope it gave you some good ideas. But as always, you know, we are available here for chapter consults. We are here for emails. Reach out to us, and I will have this exact same conversation in more detail in direct relationship to your particular challenges, obstacles, and campus cultures if you want to have that. So we're here for you, and we are trying to bring all of that energy back. So help us do that too. All right, thanks so much.
Oh, look at this. I think we're working. All right, let me make sure you guys can see James. He's going to be here with us from FaceTime. So he's down below.
Yay, FaceTime!
Okay, everybody. We're the University of Arkansas, Fort Smith. My name is Jennifer Hostley, and this is James Brown. I'm an education major and an Army veteran. And James, can you want to tell the people who you are?
Yeah, I'm a finance major and also an Army veteran.
Okay, so as you guys have probably heard by now, we did win the chapter business plan competition this year. It was a huge success for us, definitely an honor being from a very small school in Arkansas. It was just great to bring something home that we knew was going to be valuable and just give a lot of recognition to our chapter in the area and of course nationally too. So what we're here to talk to you about today is basically how we came from third place at the 2017 National Conference to first place at the 2018 National Conference as far as the business plan goes, and a couple of things that we do at our chapter that we feel are very reliable and very original tactics to get people involved. So we're going to kick it off with this slide first. So as you guys can see, there's a couple of pictures of us winning the National Business Plan competition. Next to that, you can see some of our student veterans that we brought to the national conference this year. And then below it, I wanted to include this picture because, like Bethany has said and many others, it's really important for you guys to get involved with other chapter leaders across the nation. These guys have practices and connections too that will help you network and can help you build those bonds to make your chapter successful. After that, well, let's see if we can figure this out. Nope. There we go. We talked about last year how we won 3rd place at the National Business Plan competition. So there's a picture from that. We were really honored and thankful that the Bank of America gave us that sponsorship. We were able to bring home an additional $300 besides the $2,000 that we made from the first business plan that we submitted. And we're really grateful for Eric Gage for helping us along the way. He gave a lot of advice during leadership summits, institutes, and just over the phone that really helped us get to where we were. After we came back from the 2017 National Conference, we went to work for the spring semester, just doing a lot of things on campus, revamping our plans and our strategies, and really getting ready for changeover. A part of that was the Pneuma Awards on our campus. Pneuma is our mascot at UAFS, and we do an awards ceremony at the end of each spring semester for all of the registered student organizations. At that ceremony, we were awarded the Community Service Organization of the Year, the Overall Organization of the Year Award, and the Student Leader of the Year Award. So we were really excited. We had a very successful year, and then we started planning for the fall and, of course, spring for this semester with the National Business Plan too. So James is going to talk to you guys about a few strategies that we used this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So we found that in order to do these things, the main thing you have to have is participation. I think everyone struggles with participation, and that's because that's what we always hear. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Student Veteran of the Year Award. We started this program to accumulate points when people would participate in our events. They would earn recognition at the end of the year. Whoever had the most points for the most participation would get a scholarship. The scholarship, we partnered with the American Legion. They helped fund that, and it's exponentially grown our participation. We also use surveys. We send out a lot of surveys to get a feel for what people actually want to see or want to do. It's not about what we want, it's about what the organization wants. So we use the VA certifying official, and she sends out a lot of surveys for us just to kind of put our feelers out there to see what people are interested in and see what they actually want to do. The last thing for participation was community service. If you're at the community service panel, you heard me talk about how the more community service you do and the more diverse it is, the more people you'll attract. You'll get people from all walks of life who are interested in different things just based on all the different community service you do. You just got to put yourself out there. So that's the first strategy. The second strategy is partnerships. Partnerships can mean many things. Businesses, other student organizations on campus that are not the SBO or SBA, and then local veteran communities like the VFW, American Legion. Those partnerships in the community you can't replace them. I don't even know what we do without our partnerships. Yeah. The student organizations on campus give us student support, traditional students. So, most of them have no military affiliation, but they're willing to go out and do community service and back us in anything we do. And then our veteran organizations. They're veterans, we're veterans, we automatically have this fellowship. And to be able to partner with them to do scholarships and community service, to help them ride in the parade and to get our name out there has been exponentially beneficial to us.
Yeah, definitely. Participation and partnerships have been key in our organization, and we're a big part of our business plan competition as well. Just to reiterate one point that James made about these surveys, the reason behind using the VA certifying official for surveys is we have a list of our own memberships with their emails that we can contact as freely as we want to. However, all of the other people on campus that are using military education benefits, we can't just get a hold of them because we don't know them and we don't have access to their email accounts. So when we send things to our VA certifying official, she can get that audience and get our message across to them personally, as well as our membership. And then, yeah, the partnerships have been huge for us, so definitely seek out those locally and on campus, as well as the other organizations in the SBA. It will be extremely beneficial to you, which goes to my point of preparation. So preparing for the National Business Plan competition, or just the business plan, in general, is a tedious process, but it is so worth it if you put in for it. Not only can you just win $2,000 or up to $2,000 for your chapter, you can, like I said before, bring just a lot of notoriety to your school, put your school's name at the forefront of SBA's mind. You can publicize those types of things, which bring you a part of the community, let them know about you. And so basically you're increasing your visibility anytime that you participate in these types of activities. So for the preparation of this, we used an acronym called SMART, which is a business acronym, and I'm sure all of the business majors already know about this. But as an education major, I was extremely unfamiliar with the concept just because I have not worked in that type of field before. But once you research it, it's pretty easy to follow. What you're going to do is you're going to set up goals and objectives, and then your strategies. And the strategies are going to explain how your objectives are going to be conquered that year, and your objectives are going to tie into your overall goal. So for example, say that our goal for the year was that we wanted to increase membership and maintain current memberships, right? We want retention and we want recruitment. So our objective for that would be, we are going to have X amount of speakers for the fall semester with the dates included, because that shows you're timely, which is the T in SMART. It's also specific, and it's also attainable, which means it makes sense. It's not over and above or beyond your capabilities, but it's pushed out in a way that makes sense, which is where your strategies come in. That's going to be your how are you going to get that accomplished, which basically means we're going to contact military-friendly organizations, or we're going to partner with the American Legion to bring in a speaker, so forth and so on. Research again on this also has to do with the other chapters across SBA. So when I first started it out, I had this really awesome friend, Fontaine, who was from the University of Houston, and they had won the National Business Plan competition that year before in 2016. And so I just simply asked her if I could see what they had put together and just try to get an example, because I was just so lost about what the expectations were, I guess you'd say. But with the preparation, with research and examples, I think that we put together really good business plans last year when we won 3rd place, and then again this year when we won 1st place. And that brings me to my last point for the business plan competition. It's all about presentation skills. Okay, so what we have that maybe a lot of other chapters either do or maybe they don't is we have a really cool bond between James and I. We just work together really well. We play off each other. I don't know. There's some kind of secret recipe there that's involved. So you need to find a person like that in your community where you can get, be real friends with them, because that I don't know how to explain it, James. That purity of the relationship, comes through. Like, it shows that, you guys are being genuine up there. You're responsible. You know what you're talking about. You're educated on it. But there's also, like, the confidence about you, a little humor involved in it, but that you can talk at a good pace. You can make good eye contact. You're not talking too much with your hands or walking around a lot. I just think that the presentation portion is definitely what lifted us from 3rd place last year to 1st place this year. I think that was huge for us. And we had to work on it a lot. Even though James and I click really well, we still had to do a lot of practicing in front of our peers, behind the scenes. We were practicing behind stage before we came out. I mean, it was a lot. But definitely it was well worth it. And I'm really honored to have a partner like him to help make our organization grow as much as it has. Finally, I do want to make this point about feedback. So when you go to the National Business Plan competition, first you go to the semifinal rounds, and that's the top 6 chapters in the nation. And you go behind closed doors with your panel of judges, and you present your plan to them. So in this closed door setting, after your 10 minutes is up, you have 5 minutes of basically criticism or feedback or questions, whatever they have. So this year we didn't have a whole lot of questions per se, but it was definitely feedback. Our slides were too wordy, they said. We had just too much going on. We were trying to explain every single thing that we could so fast within 10 minutes that it was hard to keep up with. And we really had to listen to that feedback. So James and I went that night and scratched our entire presentation and rebuilt it. And I think it took us, like 3 or 4 hours?
We were there till like 1 o'clock in the morning or so.
Yeah, and that was without practicing it whatsoever. So of course we had to get up the next morning and miss a couple of breakout sessions, but just practice really well until we were confident about it and knew what we were talking about and were comfortable with what we were saying. So listen to the feedback. That's my biggest piece of advice to anybody. If somebody above you is giving you any kind of feedback, you should probably take that into consideration. I know it's easy for us to think that, sometimes we might know it all, or we've been doing this for a long time, or, whatever. But when a person is above you and they're telling you, this is exactly how I expect for it to be done, this is what's going to help you win, this is what I want to see, then you just have to take that into consideration strongly and, look at your game plan.
I mean, we literally scrapped and redid the entire business plan.
Yeah.
It looked completely different. It had different words. I mean, it was a completely different plan. So we took to heart what they had told us and just ran with it.
Yeah. And I think that was the key to our success. I think when we came back the next day and they saw that we had really listened to them and put forth the effort to change it rather than just present the same thing that, was good but wasn't good enough, then that was the difference between the first and second place prize right there. And then again, I do think it had a lot to do with our presentation style as a whole. And another note that I'd like to point out is with using the SVA headquarters, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, but you can send in your business plan as many times a year as you want to up to the cutoff date to get feedback and to basically get a grade on it, and then have it returned to you to get a better grade. So like, for instance, if I want to send it off in March, but the deadline for it isn't until November 1st, Eric Gage and Karen Buck and Mark McKenna and anyone else who wants to look at it can go through our business plan and they can say, hey, you've got a really good goal here, but the strategies don't really make sense for this objective. Why don't you rework it this way or try this or that? And you're literally sending in your business plan to the graders for the perfect grade. I mean, they're going to tell you exactly what they want, and all that does is increase your chances of at least obtaining the $2,000 chapter grant for your organization, and then also ups your chances of going and being invited to the National Business Plan competition. So, I mean, all in all, it's a win-win. If you guys are not doing this, I strongly encourage you to get on board with it. It's a really fun competition. It will increase your skills. This is another thing that you can use on your resume or your LinkedIn skills, presentation skills, team building, problem solving, all of those types of things that employers are looking for right now. We have all of those skills, but doing plans like this and competitions definitely gives us the experience behind that to back up our skills. Do you have anything else, James?
Yeah, do you want to show them our Facebook link so that if anybody wants to reach out for questions, we don't have time for questions today on this webinar because we have limited time. But if you have any questions, just reach out to us on Facebook. We've already had a couple people. We're trying to gather things. So if you've reached out to us already, we haven't forgotten about you. It's just we have a lot of people reaching out through email and through Facebook. So just be patient with us. We'll try to get out the information to you guys as fast as possible. We know everybody wants to kind of see, pick our brains and see what we were doing, just like we did to Houston and other schools. Mm-hmm. So, we haven't forgotten about you. Go to our Facebook page, give it a like.
Yeah, we're not messaging you back unless you like our Facebook page. So I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing.
Yeah. We're not sending you nothing.
Yeah, but that's the link for it. Anytime you send a message, all of the officers can see that Facebook message, so anybody can get back to you on that. If we have not gotten back to you in a reasonable amount of time, which never happens, just send us another message and somebody will see it. But yeah, we'd be happy to, help you guys look over your business plans, things like that. You just want to make sure it's really clean, very organized. It follows that SMART acronym. If you have any questions, use chapter leaders, use SVA headquarters. Just get to work, really. That's it. Keep trying until it's right. Yeah, get to work. Yeah, that's really about it. And if you get bored, drink a beer. There you go. All right, guys, we're gonna sign off.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, we're gonna sign off. It was really great. Thank you guys for listening in. I hope we can do this again soon. It was really fun. Talk to you guys later. Good luck. Huh?
Who's next, Jennifer?
It's Calvin Jensen should be next, so you guys tune in. Bye.
Bye.
Good evening, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us for our Chapter Leader Academy. We're glad that you are here. Again, my name is Calvin Jensen. I'm our project manager in charge of our partnership and our LinkedIn initiatives here at Student Veterans of America. And a bit about who I am. I am a United States Marine. I spent 4 years with 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, that is myself. I was an infantry team leader. My second deployment, I deployed twice with 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines. First deployment to Afghanistan, and second deployment was to on board a Marine Expeditionary Unit. Got to see a lot of the world, a lot of good experiences leading into, I had this thing called the GI Bill when I got out and decided to come back home. Originally I'm an Arizona native, and I came back and decided to not only use my GI Bill, but I got involved with our vet center and our chapter at University of Arizona in Tucson. And it was from there I met Mark McKenna, our director of chapter support. He's my vice president. And if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, it was me coming to NatCon 2016. I saw the bigger picture. I saw the kind of the experience itself. I felt it, you know, like many of you who went to our national conference this year. And that was really, you know, where I came on board as a chapter liaison in our outreach department at the time. Now it's chapter support. And I came on board and I leveraged my experience as a chapter liaison as a volunteer position through AmeriCorps. And I'll talk to you a little bit about just leveraging that experience. And I was recently hired on about 6 months ago as our project manager in charge of our LinkedIn initiatives. And you'll see our partners over at Microsoft and LinkedIn. That is where we are talking about our partnership earlier this summer. And I was humbly accepted on behalf of LinkedIn, Partner of the Year Award for Campus Impact at the National Conference. Okay, so I'll just kind of go over some overarching goals of our partnership with LinkedIn and SVA. I'm not going to go through every word here, but essentially, because LinkedIn is the paragon of professional networks, what we're trying to encourage our student veterans is to think early and often about their careers. And with that, and LinkedIn being that platform to where they can build themselves as professionals and connect up to this economy of opportunity that is LinkedIn, we want to mobilize our individual student veterans and student veteran chapters to identify, build, and essentially, we want them to go through and connect these opportunities, career and professional related. And we also want to focus our professional communications through the LinkedIn platform. That's where we have, like many of you saw on our SBA campus, we had many of our partners, sponsors, supporters all across the board, many different sectors, nonprofit, governmental, down to corporations. About half the world's economy They were out there on the floor, and we're pushing our professional content through our LinkedIn platforms. You'll see it here in a sec. But the importance behind connecting up and being on LinkedIn is that's where our professional content is going to live. You know, a lot of folks connect on Facebook and Twitter. This is where it's going to be for Student Veterans of America. And again, something I do as project manager in charge of our LinkedIn partnership is I go through and I do and conduct training initiatives, set a curriculum we have on best practices in leveraging individual student veterans and chapters specifically on making use of LinkedIn. All right, and one thing I think I hear the most, I'm a student, I'm not ready yet, I'm focused on my education, why should I join LinkedIn? And a bit of a snapshot about what LinkedIn is. It's a platform, a community of 500 million members, about 9 million companies, 10 million jobs, and 11 billion endorsements. And these are important aspect of being found. This shows somebody your experience, and you can add up to 50 on your profile. And you can also use and leverage the LinkedIn platform to actually craft a skill set. And definitely, I'm sure many of your alma maters are on LinkedIn. Definitely advantageous to connect up and join their network, because that's another way you're found. And billions of updates between likes, shares, articles that are written, everything on the board. It's billions of that daily. And LinkedIn is a wealth of information. It's also very important, not just as a job seeker, those wanting to connect with opportunity, but corporations have taken notice to where every single Fortune 1000 company is on LinkedIn and makes heavy use of it in their recruiting and connecting up opportunities in a little tool called LinkedIn Recruiter. And 94% of recruiters, generally speaking, use LinkedIn to vet job candidates. And 87% of those recruiters use LinkedIn specifically to find job candidates. And an interesting stat came out of some LinkedIn data that was published on Forbes and our partners over at Veterati. 85% of all jobs are found and heard about through a network, a social network, specifically a professional network like LinkedIn. Now here's kind of the dark side of the moon, the view of a extremely powerful tool called LinkedIn Recruiter. Now, if you look and you see in the upper left-hand corner, there's some numbers. It's broken down into about 4 main categories. You'll see there are 2.3 million military connected veterans. They're on LinkedIn. And you'll notice a slightly smaller number, 245,000 are likely to respond. That means they're active on the platform, and not going to say recruiters are lazy, but 2.3 million as opposed to 245,000. If I'm a recruiter, I'm going to go to that smaller number, knowing that they are going to reach out, they're active on the platform, and that indicates to me that they care a bit about their career. And even more important is the next condition, the 210,000 numbers open to new opportunities. Now notice it doesn't say open in new jobs. Opportunities itself come in many forms, whether it's volunteering, mentoring, connecting up a scholarship, or those career professional development opportunities, or a job. But as a recruiter, let's say I'm a recruiter for Amazon. The fourth bucket you see, the 10,000 number, means they're engaged with your talent brand. That means they're following our company, they care about it, and they're staying up to date. It signals to me that they care enough and are actively engaged with our talent brand. I'm probably going to go for that lower number. Now, there are about 30 so other filters in there that folks are going to play around with, like geographic location, that you type in, skill sets. Now, I'm telling the why right now. I'm not going to get into the how. That's later on. Please reach out to me if you want to know a bit about that, that how you do it. I certainly don't mind going through with each of you just how to do that. And again, I told you a bit in my introduction about internships and leveraging experience. There was an article written by a student veteran at University of California, Berkeley, Brian Croft. He's over PwC, one of our partners that we have here at Student Veterans of America. And you can see by the title, he went to NatCon, he was well prepared, well versed in following PwC, and was able to connect. And right there's a perfect title for kind of thematically what we want to set, what we want to encourage folks to do. He found his way in. And just knowing how to use some of the search filters and the importance of something like LinkedIn Premium, I'll get into that in a little bit, but it allows you, like I mentioned, to go through and search for opportunities using the correct verbiage, expressing your skill sets in the correct way, and there's plenty of that. And through LinkedIn Learning is another way you see at the bottom of the screen. And again, I mentioned LinkedIn is not just for job seekers. That is your professional identity, the way you craft it. So LinkedIn is very much about people and not PDFs. So if you reach out to me, if you follow our platforms, you'll probably hear me say that more than once. It is a storytelling platform. And that's where you establish and define your professional identity. And others see that, they pick up on it. Mentors, mentees, connecting and leveraging relationships. It's a way to expand and develop network relationships in such a way that some folks kind of get fixated on chasing connections. I'd rather have 5 relationships in my network than 500 connections any day. And third part, very important, is preparing and connecting you to an economy of opportunity. And that's what LinkedIn is, essentially. And if you get one thing from listening to me speak here, it's definitely this. This is very important for our partnership and very important for your future career. I mentioned earlier, we want you to start thinking about your career as a student, whether it's internships, externships, possible career opportunities for you or your chapter. Your starting point, veterans.linkedin.com. There we will give you a free year of premium. And it is important to start that now, whether as a freshman is an investment into your future. And this is the way to do it. And when you sign up, some folks just pay attention to your profile URL. That can be found when you view your profile. And be careful not to put in linkedin.com/feed. And it's also very important to annotate your military experience in the appropriate way. And there'll be some instructions on that landing page when you go there. And what helps us keep awesome programming and opportunities like this for our student veterans in the future is let them know you were referred by Student Veterans of America. That's very important for our partnership. And very quickly, some of the benefits of LinkedIn Premium, if we break it down into 3 main categories, it is about finding people and being found. So whether that is how many folks are viewing your profile, who they are, just what the network relationship is, who they're connected to, who they can introduce you to, who they might be able to vouch for, ask for a referral, as well as who are the recruiters that are out there. These are these analytics that will spit out and then be able to articulate on your profile. And getting the inside scoop, that is something as far as when there's an opportunity and whatever is put onto my LinkedIn profile, as far as my skills, my set of experiences in the past and currently, and where I may be modeled for the future, that's going to come in the form of competitive intelligence. So that's going to show you just how you stack up for a position and how you can kind of, maybe I should say finagle the process, but definitely leading into the next point here and learning something new. This is by far my favorite part of not only LinkedIn, but the LinkedIn Premium account that I have. It is hundreds upon hundreds of well-rounded course materials that all the way from hard and soft skills like business skills, data analytics, project management, a lot of stuff about graphic design and kind of how to use some business software. A lot of folks in the industry that are well known, you know, influencers across the space, executives, professors, career coaches, they're on there and providing this content for free. And when you go through a course, it gives you that skill set, but it also allows that skill set to be shown on your profile, and that credential shows up in the certification, which shows good initiative that you're thinking about your career and you're thinking and kind of the concept of the lifelong learner. So something that is a very good first step when you do have that LinkedIn Premium, enroll in these and complete these 3 LinkedIn learning courses. Our partners over at the Veterans Program at LinkedIn work tirelessly in putting these together. They're very good courses from LinkedIn for veterans that will tell you about overall what the military community and the veteran community, what they are comprised of on LinkedIn, and the importance of being on there. Specific to being a student veteran, you know, we can definitely help you out there. And again, that's my job, you know, so please reach out. And translating your military skills into the civilian workplace is something when I went through, you know, as a Marine infantryman, I kind of thought, well, I do need to go to college. I was having some trouble just understanding exactly how I could translate my skill set. But what I realized in my past experience and current experience, that really I was shaped up to be a project manager. And that really helped me leverage that experience into where I'm at now, project manager at a national organization. And then Flo Groberg, Medal of Honor recipient, he goes through this course and finding your purpose after active duty. Now I found this one very enlightening. He went through and said a lot of those things that resonate in coming out of active duty or coming out of the military or while you're still in, and you know, getting rid of kind of that sense of entitlement, proving yourself and stepping up and believing in yourself, all of these things. And again, you know, I found it very enlightening, and hope you would too. And again, I mentioned earlier about following our company page and joining our SVA group. So this is where professional content is going to be. And on our platform, our SVA company page, this is where we're going to be sharing a lot of the information about how to connect up, what's happening as far as our professional career development initiatives for Student Veterans of America. What's very important, and what I'll kind of assign to you, is in our SVA group, that is your community. But beyond that, that is where we are encouraging our sponsors, our supporters, employers, mentors, all across the board to connect with student veterans, to build and help facilitate opportunities across the board. You know, whether that's career related, it's mentoring, it's connecting up for a cup of coffee and providing some sense of, you know, a professional event that they might be able to connect. That's where we're encouraging folks to go. So I would encourage you to join, introduce yourself, you know, read through our policies about a bit about what our group is, introduce yourself, ask us some career relevant information, what your goals are as far as a professional, and how SVA or sponsors can help you there. And again, anything career, professional development related, anything related specifically about how to do something on LinkedIn, reach out to me. I'll give you a minute, kind of copy down my information here before I transition on to the next slide. And I gave you a bit of a teaser about the why it's important to be on LinkedIn. Now, I took about 4 hours of content and down into about 15 minutes or so. And in Chapter Leader Academy 4, we're going to be focusing on the theme, and I'm sure you've heard some of our leaders, and specifically Jared Line, talk about our 3 strategic pillars, to, through, and beyond higher ed. we're going to be focusing on the Beyond portion. We're going to have our programs team. They're going to go through the Beyond the school year and talking to you about SVA's summer chapter programming, what we have in the pipeline, how we can connect up your chapter. We're also going to tell the importance of being active during the summer. And then we're going to have a focus on Beyond Higher Ed, talking about the hows in LinkedIn, specific to leveraging it as a student veteran. We're going to talk about some internships and job opportunities and how we can help facilitate that connection, especially during the summer. And again, we are very thankful here at Student Veterans of America for you joining us. And we hope those who did attend our national conference this year in San Antonio picked up a lot of material. And we hope we were able to help each of you out. Now, what we're looking for you is to take this information, connect with us, talk to your chapter leadership, talk to your on-campus community, your off-campus community, partner up with individuals. And anything you need, SBA is here to serve you. And again, thank you all and have a good evening.